All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We got a wild week ahead with NVIDIA earnings, but after last week, we broke out of the range and everything seemed good. And then all of a sudden on Friday, you had a 2.5% sell-off on the NASDAQ. So market breadth isn't doing well. There's still a lot of things doing good in the market, but now we got to talk about why everybody is all of a sudden bearish, why everybody is buying the VIX. I'll just tell you right now, there is two reasons. One, the global economic policy uncertainty index, it is absolutely surging. And in the last 7-8 years, anytime that's happened, the VIX has usually followed along. That's reason number one. And now two, we've heard a lot about retail versus the fund positioning. We were talking about that last week, but now until tax season, people are expecting retail to chill out. So even though we have the buybacks and all of that, people are thinking momentum can slow down. Now, does that mean we are going to crash tomorrow? I've heard people talk about it. There is going to be some volatility, but I will just tell you this now. You got to pay attention to the broader theme. So I'm going to go over that. We're going to talk about what happened on Friday, how you should be looking at it coming into tomorrow and the rest of the week. Then we're going to talk about some of the broader themes, and then I have the rest of the week, the calendar, and then a couple of plays. What I need from you, a thumbs up on the video. Make sure you're subscribed, and if you don't know, we are live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open, youtube.com/the stock market. We will see you there in the morning, baby. Run it.
Working to the couch, it's the 2020 election. Live in the hills, but I still get a spread. Started with a live, but I still reinvest it. Feel how I feel, then it feel like a blessing. I just want the lesson, I just want protection. I'm up and I'm down, but they sound like progression. Farmer never plans if he waits for perfection. Finger to the down.
All right, off the bat, since we were talking about crash on Monday or not, let's start with some of the broader themes. Before we talk about what happened there on Friday, I am going to go over what I still expect is going to happen. You may have heard me say risk on till rate hikes. I still believe that. Remember, what ultimately happens with inflation, that is still one of the major themes for the market, and that's how you could sum up things broadly. It's either we see inflation drops, and that ends up being good, and the market runs up into the high heavens, and we stroll off into the sunset. That would be good. If you don't have to deal with inflation after the tariffs, the presidency, all of that down the line, even with Powell, that would all be a good thing. However, the opposite side, if we see growth drop and you don't have the consumer being strong, the economy starts to slip, and you still kind of have prices high, well, welcome stagflation. That's going to be negative, and that'll send the market back to the lower end. Remember, for the last couple of years, we've already been melting up. It's not as if we are chilling at low levels. So this is the broad way you could view things until you get inflation going higher or lower or something decisive with growth. Unless there is an external event, I don't think the market is going to be moving much. And I think last week you got a nice little lesson on that. Not only, and we're going to talk about the explanations, not only did it seem like you were breaking out, but you came right back down and it was all for nothing. That's kind of the whole point of all of it. We melted up. Yeah, people were dealing with the tariffs, or at least that's what we thought. And then you're slammed down on seemingly nothing. So this is how I'd be looking at it. Don't forget about the broad factors. Be cautious. But when it's all said and done, even after last week, we're still in the range no matter how we felt. I know. It's amazingly terrific, or terrible, but that is key number one. Now, key number two, let's talk about what happened on Friday. It definitely was a risk-off event. Now, it's not like anything really happened. Believe it or not, there was actually a COVID rumor. I can't make this up. It was towards the middle of the day, end of the day. We even made some plays on Pfizer and all of that. It was right around here. The bonds got a little crazy. We were already selling off. There was bad PMI data. There was a lot of bad data all across the board, even the high consumer sentiment data, which we already knew about. But there was all this bad data. We were selling off. And then it came out, again, literally on the anniversary of COVID. I'm not making this up. There was at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, there is a scientist nicknamed Batwoman. That's what they call her. She studies bats, and pretty much nobody got infected. Nothing happened, but they said that they discovered a new strain that could spread or would be deadly if it did spread. So that surprisingly caused some moves. I thought it was kind of humorous when it was all said and done, but there was a lot of things that happened on Friday. And like I'm saying here, you could find a lot of different explanations from the data to the expiration with the options that we had on Friday. Again, retail, trade uncertainties, all of these things, but just like we saw in the middle of the week, we kind of went up for nothing, and then we kind of got slammed down for nothing. Now, we'll see if this continues on Friday or Monday, because, again, market breadth is bad. That geopolitical uncertainty and a lot of other things are kind of flashing red, but we did get the bonds not dying, but we'll see now if this is either bond support that helps the market, or is this everybody rushing to bonds and then the market starts to sell off? But either way, I think NVIDIA earnings will probably be the set-all be-all, and now that is your final key. You're not going to get much this week. You're going to hear a couple of things overseas. There will be some real estate data, and then on Friday you will get the PCE, but I do think the big driver of the week will be on Wednesday, and that will be NVIDIA earnings. It is the first earnings of the year for them, and the first earnings since the whole DeepSeek fiasco at the beginning of the year. So this ties into a lot of tech companies, chips, and all of that. Even for sentiment, if retail is supposed to leave or not, I think this is going to be a big event. So all eyes are going to be on that. This doesn't mean you play NVIDIA for earnings. This means after we get over NVIDIA, we're going to remove the event risk, get into the data, and then before you know it, man, February is over, we enter March, and then you're going to be a couple weeks out from Jerome Powell and a summary of economic projections. So all in all eyes are on tomorrow. We might get a little bit more volatility. It depends on what we hear overnight, but if things stabilize for no reason, just as easily as they destabilize, then we'll go from there and see what happens. But now, let us get into the plays. So, right off the bat, I got a simple set of plays. I made some plays on Google and Meta on Friday. They got washed. I was trying to play. There was headlines related to like a EU digital tax bill, or we're going to kind of clap EU with that, but seemed like good news, but it's only good if it was unilateral, and I think that news came from the fact that the EU is about to clap our big tech companies. So that's going to be one side of news to watch this week with like Google and Meta. But now, just leading into NVIDIA earnings and afterwards, even the fact that we're almost into the end of the first quarter of this first beginning of the year, Mag 7 has underperformed a lot. So I'm either looking for them to bring the market down even more, or they're going to start picking up the slack if we do even have to deal with any volatility. Doesn't mean Mag 7 will sell off when a lot of them haven't done much. So I'm going to be looking there, lagger or leader. I think Mag 7 will be important from now pretty much until Powell and the SEP. So watch out for that. That is play number one. Then play number two, Alibaba, man. China is majorly in play. There was even data over the weekend. The housing data has been getting better just generally ever since the DeepSeek. People have been liking these China stocks, and when you look at them, Baba has been the ultimate winner so far. So I would be watching this. We traded it a lot on Friday. I've been getting a lot of free options going back and forth. I'm going to play this until the party stops pretty much. I think every day, unless there's no news or it does like really bads, but even now it's moved up so much. There could be opportunities to the downside. I think Baba's going to be one to be going for, especially even if there is nothing going on in the market. So watch out for that. That is play number two. And then finally, FXY in Europe. And I want to just throw this one out there, give you an idea. You might be able to make a play. We got some FXYs. The options haven't moved much, but we got another month. But keep an eye out for FXY in Europe, especially Europe. They had that election here over the weekend. Most people are thinking it's going to be good, and they're even starting to say buy the dips in Germany. So I don't know how I feel about that per se, but when it comes down to it, this is something I noticed on Friday. Bonds got a bid, the yen got a bid, everything else sold off. Even the other currencies, it's not like they got much weaker. It was a very weird dynamic, but long story short, a strong yen, that could keep the other currencies at bay even if the dollar wants to do its own thing. So this is something that I think is important here now. A lot of people are already talking about Japan. Would I be worried about Japan? Yeah, when you see those yields come down, they're on the climb now, and that's people are freaking out. But once they hit that threshold and call uncle, then that's when you're going to start to get a little bit of a fiasco. In the meantime, start watching the dynamic, because if the yen starts strengthening, depending on what the dollar, the euro, and the pound does, that could balance some things out. But it's going to be on watch again now until Powell as well. This is going to be an area I would not lose focus on. So also watch commodities and oil. That's tied to all of the politics. And then we'll see if we hear anything from digital to more trade war. And keep in mind, we are wrapping up February, and before you know it, you are going to be done with the first quarter. So, Chad, other than that, I made a bunch of plays on Friday. We flipped the Pfizers. We were just playing all of those Corona fears. We got the 1 cent options. I did go early on Meta and Google. I got smashed on them. I even averaged down by the close. So going to be writing out some of those this week. Got rid of the Babas both ways. Plan on playing those a little bit more. I don't think I'm going to be playing NVIDIA earnings, but maybe on the lead up or afterwards, definitely. I think that's going to free up a lot of stuff. So we'll see where it takes us, but it should be an exciting week. We'll get surprised, get ready to wing it, but Chad, that is your watch list, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure hydrate healthy, ready to go. Make sure post your watch list. Make sure we see you there in the morning. I need the armor on. I need the helmet shining. And I need you to remember, don't trade the truth for an opinion. Oh, even if you're going for a virtue, you can't sacrifice the truth for any virtue, because then what good is that virtue? I hope they feel me, baby. But Chad, drink that water. Stay hydrated and healthy. I hope you had a good weekend. See you in the morning and horn.